The Athletic just put out the worst possible NFL power ranking list I've ever seen in my entire life. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I cannot believe what I've seen. My eyeballs must be deceiving me. So I was sitting here watching New Orleans Football's live stream. I was sitting here watching, supporting the boys at NOF, supporting Mike Triplett, Nicholas, and of course PJs. I was relaxing. I was sitting back, kicked back, enjoying myself. I could really feel like I was in a PJs. I could really feel like I had just went to Matt Bauer's Auto Group and Friend and Company and all the other sponsors of this program. I could really feel it. And then they started talking about this list that was put out by The Athletic. Listen, shield your eyes. Get the women and children out of the room. Okay, this is something, this will keep you up at night. All right? I mean, we're kind of on a roll here of these kind of insane divisional standing predictions and power rankings and tier lists and whatever. This one may take the cake. All right, let's take it away. So now this is the backdrop is the live stream from New Orleans Football. I have it right before the topic of conversation. I will react as only I can do.
But speaking of national perception, I mean, this leads right into the graphic from The Athletic today.
Yeah, The Athletic, they dropped a chart saying that the Saints were ranked 30th post-draft. So if we take a look at
30th. Josh Kendall from The Athletic. Bum. I mean, 30th. I can't even, Nick's face says it all. 30th. Not like 20th, not 17th, not whatever. 30th. Like, that is almost, obviously, the worst team in the NFL. The Saints won 9 games last year. The Saints were a Derek Carr injury in Green Bay away from being a playoff team. Now, this is hard to believe. That's not even the worst part. That's not, it might be the worst part, but it's not just the worst part. This list is horrific. This film is a disaster.
Look at that.
That's just the perception surrounding this team is they've been a blah team, and they didn't do anything that anyone got. They didn't add a coach. They didn't add.
Look at this ranking. The Chicago Bears are 13. The Chicago Bears are above the Miami Dolphins. They're above the New York Jets. The Chicago Bears are the 13th best team in the NFL. The New England Patriots are 24. The Commanders are 23. What the hell is going on here? The Vikings are 20th. What is this list? The Saints are 30th. Only above Denver and Carolina. I do think Denver and Carolina are probably two. You could argue the two worst teams in the NFL. But what is going on? I mean, this is an absolute disaster. A disaster of a ranking. The fact that this guy, I mean, say what you want about The Athletic. I'm not saying that The Athletic is some, esteemed piece of journalism. But the fact that this guy or girl has a platform or has the ability to click publish or can even is allowed to even put these kind of rankings out there. This goes to show you, this right here goes to show you how easily tricked people are with as far as like perception and narratives, where if you draft a quarterback highly or if you make a coaching splash or if you do something that moves the needle with just the narrative, just the optics, what it can do for you. The Bears get Caleb Williams, they get Rome Odunze, they have some decent free agent signings or whatever, and they go from what the Bears have been the last couple of years to the 13th best team in the NFL. Like, they go above playoff teams. They go above teams that win games. They go above teams that, like the Dolphins last year, at some points were the favorite to win the AFC. I'm not saying they're going to win the AFC, but they go above the Jets, who, with Aaron Rodgers, who knows how good the Jets can be. It's just crazy to see. The Patriots, same thing. The Commanders, same thing. Why do you think they're up so highly? Why do you think they're 23 and 24? Because they drafted quarterbacks. It's that simple. Like, they drafted quarterbacks, so they jumped them up the list. I mean, I really honestly cannot believe this entire list, but the Saints at 30 really is shocking.
Add a quarterback.
Right.
They didn't add a blue chipper. They didn't add a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro or whatever.
Right.
And people have just been predicting the Saints' demise for years, and they've never done it. They've never been the 3-14 team.
Exactly. Well said, Mike. I have said that video after video after video. The Saints have not won less than 7 games since before Sean Payton. We're talking about almost 20 years ago. Say what you want about the Saints. Were the Saints good last year? No. They won 9 games. The Saints weren't always the best team in the NFC, but they were never, ever a 4-win team, a 3-win team, a 5-win team. They haven't done that since Peyton got here. They haven't done that since this cultural shift post-Katrina, since the Sean Payton era took over. Like, that has not been a thing in New Orleans. So to say, well, not only are the Saints going to be one of the worst team in the NFL, not only are they going to do that, which they haven't done in almost 20 years, but they're going to return virtually everyone from last year who was a 9-win team, and the entire team is going to regress so bad that they're going to go from being almost a playoff team, bang average, to 30th. And Mike said, like, the national perception is that they didn't add a coach. That just goes to show you how much they aren't paying attention. That just goes to show you how much the national media has absolutely no clue what's going on. Because I would say that adding Clint Kubiak over Pete Carmichael is one of the biggest coaching advantages, one of the biggest upgrades coaching-wise any team made at any coaching position this entire offseason. So I just think this is mind-blowing.
7 is the worst they've ever done. I don't expect them to fall below 7 either. And yet this doesn't surprise me. I don't agree with it.
It surprises the hell out of me. 30th is insane.
Yeah.
30th is
pop
insane.
off,
they
Nick.
won 9 games last year. Putting them at 30th is insane. Like, that's incredibly. Like, there's a segment of Saints Twitter that I believe made this. Like,
well said. This is is Josh Kendall one of the people in my comment sections who constantly is telling me that we need to fire Mickey Loomis, Dennis Allen, Gail Benson needs to sell the team. We need to implode the Superdome, build a new stadium, relocate the team. Is that who Josh Kendall is? Like, is Josh Kendall one of the people in the Saints subreddit who is saying that he can't sleep at night because of how bad the team is? Like, is that what's going on here? Because that's the only possible way that you could get to where the Saints are 30th. If you told me the Saints are anywhere between 14 and 22, I'd believe you. That's where the Saints should be. Anywhere in there. 14's a little high. If you told me 16 to 22, I'd be like, yep, that's probably about right. 16 to 22 is probably bang average. You know, like somewhere between 7 and 10 wins, 10 at the absolute most. 10 is high, like I said. Somewhere between 7 and 9 wins, I think, is where the Saints will land. 7 to 9 wins is not the 30th team in the NFL. The 30th team in the NFL is like 3 wins, 4 wins, somewhere in there, under 5 wins. 5 wins or below gets you 30, 31, or 32. In no world do I see the Saints. No world do I see the Saints winning less than 6 games. I mean, this
that's insane.
How about Tampa Bay at 15? That's insane.
That's what I'm saying.
Tampa at 15. It's a playoff team. That's how he's cycling that. But I think that is kind of crazy. But the ones that stick out to me, Chicago at 13, New England at 24, the Jets are 17, obviously the Saints at 30. But those really stick out to me. Even Atlanta at 22, like the difference between Tampa, Atlanta, and the Saints being, because I think those 3 teams are going to be pretty close to competing to win the division. The idea that Tampa is 7 spots better than Atlanta and Tampa is 15 spots better than the Saints is crazy.
I'm saying this list is crazy. It's insane. Like, even the separation
Chicago at 13.
Yeah, the separation between 15, 22, and 30 is.
Oh, Nick, boom. There you go. Exactly. Thank you, Nick. That is, if you're saying that Atlanta is 7 spots ahead of Atlanta and 15 spots ahead of the Saints, you're basically saying Tampa is like You're saying Tampa is like a 10-win team, Atlanta's like a 7-win team, and then the Saints are like a 4-win team. That's basically what you're saying.
Is nuts to me. Chicago being that high after being the worst team in the league.
The Patriots at 24.
Minnesota doesn't even have a proven quarterback.
It's just a bad list.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a bad list. It's just a list that I mean, you could do like a randomizer. Like, you could do some like just sort the teams into a random thing, click go, and have it spit out a top 32. Like Chat GPT it, and I guarantee you it's better than this list. I mean, this list is a mess. Like, you're looking at Minnesota. Who's their quarterback? You look at the Raiders. Who's their quarterback? A lot of these teams, you just have absolutely no clue who their quarterback even is. And then you got rookie quarterbacks all over the shop. I mean, the Giants, like Drew Lock, is he their quarterback? Is Daniel Jones their quarterback? The Raiders, you're telling me that Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell, and they're the 25th best team? Patriots, Drake May. Sure do believe a lot in Drake May. Jaden Daniels. I mean, like going through this is just crazy. Like even Dallas at 7. Like Dallas has had a horrific offseason. Dallas has had a terrible offseason. Dallas shouldn't be in the top 10. Brutal.
Yeah, it's a bad list. It's an insane list. I'm not putting the Saints like in one of the top two lines here. It goes 1 to 8 is on the top line. 9 to
no. They could if I put them anywhere, it'd be 16 is where I'd put them. And 16, I probably wouldn't put them 16. But yeah, if you told me they were 16 to, I'm not putting the Saints below. I mean, I guess I'm going to have to end up doing an NFL power ranking list 1 through 32 just to fix this. I'm going to have to end up doing this in a future video to try and, God, does anybody watch ball? Does anybody watch the NFL? Does anybody watch football? What is Josh Kendall doing on Sundays? I mean, what's he doing during the weekend? I mean, this. I mean, I can call it. Where's my phone? I can call up 10 people on my contact list who haven't watched the NFL in 5 years and get a better list out of them than this.
16 is the next line. I think they're somewhere in that 17 to 24 range, though. Like 30th is crazy.
They feel like what were you gonna say?
C tier. Yeah.
Yeah. They feel like Pittsburgh to me. They feel like Atlanta and Tampa to me. They feel like I'm not putting the Giants ahead of them. I'm definitely not putting the Commanders ahead of them. I mean, there's a lot of mediocrity.
But yes, and I agree. Like the Saints, 100%. I've been saying the Saints are in that tier with the Tampas and the Atlantas and the Indianapolis and the Steelers and the Seahawks. Like, that's where they belong, sure. But teams like the Giants and the Raiders and those are the Commanders, the Patriots, like those are bottom of the barrel bad teams. Horrible teams. Like, I wonder if Josh Kendall knows Bill Belichick is not coaching the Patriots anymore. Because he has to have a whole lot of trust in Gerard Mayo. He's got to have a whole lot of trust. It's just those are the ones, like it's one thing to be average. It's one thing to be slightly below average. But when you're talking about being 7 teams worse than the Commanders, 6 teams worse than the Patriots, 5 teams worse than an Aiden O'Connell possibly led Raiders team with Antonio Pierce as your head coach, are you kidding me? Like that's where it doesn't make any sense. If you told me we're 19, say, okay, yeah, sure, we're probably... Yeah, we're one off from the Steelers. We're 1 off from the Chargers. We're right in that conversation, 17 to 23. But 7 teams worse than the Commanders, worse than the Raiders, worse than the Giants
on this list.
The Jets, I guess they got Rodgers.
Yeah, the Jets are sweet. I'll give you that. The Jets are sweet. I think the Jets. I might be high on the Jets. I've told y'all. Whoa, almost just Mike Tyson. Almost just Mike Tyson, my microphone there. But I've told you all this before. I'm going to have multiple future tickets. I'm going to have Jets to win the AFC, Jets to win the AFC East, Jets to win the Super Bowl. I'll probably have the Bengals to win the Super Bowl, or maybe the Bengals to win the AFC. Anyways, I love the Bengals and I love the Jets. I think the Jets are going to be sweet this year. Aaron Rodgers, comeback player of the year. Aaron Rodgers, MVP. Aaron Rodgers, offensive player of the year. Go look for those tickets right there.
I mean,
but you don't know what he's going to look like after that injury.
Minnesota at 20. That's a lot of blind faith on Minnesota
at 24.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's crazy.
Chicago at 13.
The Commanders are at 23, and the Saints are at 30.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
But that is the perception. So when I was going through all that additions, subtractions, universally the Saints offseason D plus D. Yeah. They're just sitting there doing their cap stuff. Like that's just how people feel about it.
But that's crazy. Like that's something I don't understand. And maybe because I'm so tied into the team, but. To look at the offseason and say D plus offseason when the Saints made I mean look, I sound like a broken record because I've said it so many times, but I think the Saints did exactly what you would want them to do this offseason. What's their problem? Offensive line, offensive coaches, pass rush. What did they do? Immediately they said, "Yep, okay, you're right. See ya." Offensive coaching staff completely turned over an offensive coaching staff, got a whole new offensive coaching staff in there with young, innovative voices from the most successful coaching tree in the NFL. Check mark. Offensive line. Okay, let's go ahead and draft with the 14th overall pick, Talise Fuaga, who, from all accounts, stud. Okay, we've addressed that. Edge. Let's go get Chase Young. We'll see what Chase Young can do. 24 years old. See if he can still be productive. He's been productive when healthy. So I just think, and then the draft has been heralded as an A-plus draft by Pro Football Focus. So how does addressing your biggest needs, how does getting a new offensive coaching staff, drafting an offensive lineman, getting a young pass rusher, how does all of that equal, and an A-plus draft, how does that equal D-plus offseason? The Saints had an A-plus offseason. The draft, I've said they're an A draft to B-plus draft. But overall, if you told me to grade the entirety of the Saints offseason, I would say it's an A+. They did exactly what you would want them to do for this season and next season.
This team, people see a mid coach, a mid quarterback, and they didn't see anything to change their.
I mean, they did have I'll give everybody that. Like, the offseason is incredibly. It's just a lot of replacement level players. Now, if Chase Young hits, I think that's a great offseason. Really, I mean, that's kind of what they need. But yeah, they didn't go out, they didn't spend, they kind of stayed the same. Within the context of the team, though, I don't think it's a deep.
Let's say they stayed the same. Let's say the Saints did exactly what they did last year. Exactly what they did. Same thing. Everyone played the same. Everybody, same results, same record. That doesn't get you 30. Where does that get you? Where does 9-8 get you? 19? 20? Exactly where we're saying they should be. Again, think about the regression that would have to take place for a 9-8 team who seemingly upgraded across the board, who seemingly got better across the board. This isn't a team if we went from I'm trying to look at one of these teams on here. Like the Jets. Okay. Like the Jets this year are sitting at 17. If Aaron Rodgers retires and next year they roll out Trevor Siemian, it's like, okay, yeah, they probably should fall pretty significantly. We're rolling back the same players. So think about how drastic our fall off would have to be for us to go from 9-8, middle of the road, somewhere between 17 and 22, to 30. We would have to lose an extra 5 games this year.
The offset, I think within the context of the team and the vision, I think they did what they were supposed to do. I think if they went out and spent a ton of money and tried to go for it,
why
I
would
would be much more critical, because it just does not feel like that's where they should exist. So I actually like what they did this offseason. And if it's a sacrifice of this season in some degrees to have a better next season, I actually like it, because I don't think you should be trying. If they win 7 or they win 9, there's really no difference. If they win,
agree, 100%. 100%. If we're a 9-win team, that doesn't make the playoffs, which you probably don't at 9 wins, and you can shave a little bit of that off to protect your future, and that takes you to a 7-win team that doesn't make the playoffs, is that really that big of a difference? No, it's not. And that's exactly where we are. We are doing what I just said we have done for the last 20 years. We are staying relevant. We are protecting the future. We are maintaining a level of relevancy while building for the future and trying to find lightning in a bottle. We have the talent on the roster to find lightning in a bottle. Derek Carr can up his play to be a top 8-ish quarterback in the NFL. Alvin Kamara has what it takes to be one of the best running backs in the NFL. Chris Olave is a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. This defense can be, we saw at times last year, this defense can be a top 5 defense in the NFL. It can be a top 10 defense in the NFL. So if you catch lightning in a bottle and all of that comes together, you might win 10 games. Yeah, you might win the division. Yeah, you might host a playoff game. Sure. But the floor, you have a security blanket because you still have a decent roster around you. You're not a team like the Raiders. The Raiders' floor, when you enter a season with Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew as your starting quarterback, your floor is 3 wins. And you're playing in a division with Patrick Mahomes, get real. When you're the Commanders, when you're the Patriots, and you're starting a season with a horrible team, new coaches, and you have rookie quarterbacks, your floor is 2 wins, 3 wins, 4 wins. Ask Carolina how that worked out last year when you're putting everything on a bunch of unproven players and unproven coaches. Carolina, same thing. Carolina's moving. I mean, they're 32 on here, but deservedly. I mean, a lot of these teams, it's just, I'm getting sick to my stomach looking at this list.
6 and they win, 9. There's really no difference to me. I think, if you're sub playoffs or fighting to get in and losing in the first round, there's really no difference to me. I think you just have to try to remain competitive so you don't erode your locker room, your culture, all that stuff. And I think they've done enough to not do that. I think they're still going to be competitive. I don't feel like the players feel like the front office has quit on them. I think they've done enough to try to maintain that. And I think if you do that and you aren't going too far for this team where they're at, I think that was the best approach, honestly.
No,
I'm not trying to just rally for what they did.
I like their offseason approach for that reason. They didn't mortgage the future.
I think the roster and the locker room is got to be feeling like refreshed. They got, no hate, they got the scrub out of there, Pete Carmichael. They got the biggest clown in the city out of there, Mr. Barnum and Bailey himself. He's gone. They're bringing in a new guy, new vision, innovation. They're rolling back the core players. All this talk about Marshawn Lattimore getting traded. He's there. Team leaders, DeMario Davis, Cam Jordan. They're there. Young stars, Chris Olave. He's there. We addressed positions of need. We brought in, Chase Young. Like I said, relatively exciting free agents. If I'm in the locker room, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about this season because I'm thinking, okay, thank God we're not running it back with Pete Carmichael and the offensive coaching staff. And thank God we're shaking things up. And they shook things up where they had to shake them.
They didn't spend a lot of money on anyone who's only going to help this year. They didn't trade away future draft picks. They're actually catching up on the salary cap a little bit. I like all that stuff.
Love it. A+.
I just don't think, you sacrificed improving on that. I think they held the line this offseason, and they'll be about the same product that they've put out there the last 2 years with a chance to have better results.
I think they'll be better than 2 years ago. They'll be similar to last year, but I think err towards the side of better because I think Clint Kubiak is such an upgrade over Pete Carmichael, and you're giving Derek Carr another year to have that chemistry with his teammates. All of that gets better. Like we saw a lot of Carr, miscommunicating during his first half of the season last year, and towards the end of the year, it got a lot better. We didn't see the miscommunications with the wide receivers. We didn't see the miscommunication with the offensive line. So I just don't see why. I don't see why the team would regress that drastically. I mean, I'm not saying we win 9 games or higher. Like the schedule's harder, but I don't think we regress to the level of being a bottom 5 team or bottom 3 team.
I think Clint Kubiak is a massive addition. I think the whole offensive staff is a massive addition.
Cannot be understated.
We'll see what it is. We'll see how it shakes out. But I mean, as far as our offseason goes, getting him, I think, is huge. And look, there's like an alternate reality where, like, what if DA started out with like a good offensive staff? Like, what would it be? I mean,
100%. Well, it's not an alternate reality, my man. It is this season because Dennis Allen. We have said it a million times. As a head coach, as a defensive play caller, best in the NFL. Possibly the best defensive mind in the NFL. So what does that look like when he can just give the offense to Clint Kubiak? And if Clint Kubiak is a good offensive coordinator, if he's in the same atmosphere, stratosphere as Bobby Slowick and Ben Johnson and Shane Steichen when Steichen was at Philadelphia, if he's that level of OC who can just take the offense, own the offense, completely run the offense while Allen can focus on the defense, who the hell knows what will happen? We haven't seen that. We have not seen a different offensive vision or a different mindset for the Saints in 20 years since Sean Payton, because Pete Carmichael and Ronald Curry and co. obviously weren't doing nothing. They were just trying to cosplay as Sean Payton, which wasn't working out. So who knows? It might free up Dennis Allen to just focus on the defense. Who knows? We'll see. If Clint Kubiak can be that upper tier of coordinator, there's no reason the Saints, there's no reason that impact won't be seen immediately for the Saints.
I think there's a reality where things look a lot different.
Yeah. Let's fast forward to next offseason. Our next segment is presented by Jouet Productions. The Saints declined to pick up the 5th-year option on Peyton Turner.
Jouet Productions? A new sponsor. Shout. We're not gonna watch that. I just wanted to cover the power rankings thing because I could not believe it when I was watching this. I could not believe it. I really couldn't. God, it's pissing me off. I mean, the more I look at it, it's just, I'm not happy about this at all. Ladies and gentlemen, get out in the comments below. Fire off. Fire off. I want Hell in the Cell match, no holds barred, loser leaves town, last man standing level of just firing off in the comments section. I want to hear what you got to say about this whole top 32 from the Bears at 13 to the Commanders at 23 to the Patriots at 24 to the Saints at 30. Get in there. I'll be down there with you. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video.